Hello, everyone. So, after finishing the staging area, now we need to implement our data warehouse ETL. And in our case, to implement the dimensions, we need the circuit key. So, what is this circuit key and why we need it? First of all, the circuit key is just a primary key of the dimension, and it is an integer type. Okay, so we use it to just have a better performance while we do our joins on the table. When we do analysis on the data warehouse. You can read a lot of things about the surrogate key, so I will link the blog about it and also the video that explain the surrogate key in details. So let's just start now by creating a new project for our ETL in of the data warehouse. So let's go just run Talend here and let's create a new project. Okay, by creating a new project and name it. You can name it whatever you want. Just name it save on data warehouse and then create. So let's see first of all how the data warehouse looks like. In the finished project and what the circuit looks like also. So as you see here, I have a data warehouse table here, database, and those tables we have customer, employee, product, and time, fact one, fact two. So if we take a look in customer here, we see that we have two keys here, and we have the name of the company and the contact name, also in the country. However, we have customer key here, and also we have customer ID. The customer ID is the ID. The ID of the data source, and for the customer key here is what we call it the surrogate key. As you see here, it's an auto increment variable started from 1 to 120. And as I said, we use this circuit key just to have a better performance while we interrogate the data warehouse. And why we let this customer ID here, which is the data source key, because like when we want to load the data in data warehouse, we need to have a reference. So our reference is this customer ID. And also whenever there is updates and on the data source to check if there is an update or to fill to do update in our data warehouse, we need this key. So that's why we need this key. And now, as we see here, we have also the same process we did in employee table. So we have the employee key and we have employee ID. As you remember, those keys are access keys, and those keys are the SQL Server keys, as you see here. For the product also, and you may notice that in our time dimension, we have the date ID. Also, we can use the date here as a key, but as I told you, it's about for performance. When you have a string or date type, it's like so long to get access and etc. So it's all about performance. So let's just start now. First of all, before starting, let's take a look for our fact table here. To have an overview, it's better. As you see here, we have only the keys and we have our measure, which is like the revenue. And as you see here, it is CA. Why you were asking what is the CA? It's like in French, le chiffre d'affaires, because like the table is in French, so I just need to. So we can switch it. We can read it. Make it to revenue. Don't worry about it. And also for our fact table, second fact table here, we have the keys as you see here, that ID, employee ID, customer ID, and now we have like the number of delivered and non-delivered orders and the total orders. So it is the sum of those columns. Okay, let's start. Okay, so now how we're going to do it. Let's start by connecting our time with our staging area. Just type the name ST here, which means the staging area, or maybe SA, it's better like to reference to staging area. Then press next. We select the DB type to MySQL Server, which is Microsoft SQL Server. And we need to change the port, of course. We need to put the name of the server, the DB, the name of the database, and the schema. Also, if necessary, to add some additional parameters here. Let's start by getting our port. First of all, let's go SQL Server. Okay, let's go TCP IP here. We go to IP address, and here in our TCP dynamic port, we need to copy this variable, this number, I mean, and just paste it here. For this database, I think our database is staging area. This one, we can copy the name. How I did this, just press F2 on your keyboard, and then just paste it here. For the server name, which always I forget about it, let's just get our server name here. Just click here in properties in desktop. Then change settings and we get our name of the server. Okay. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna paste that variable here. Okay. I think everything's okay. Let's just test our connection. Yes, the connection is successfully work. As I said, if you have any problem with the connection, I will make a video of it to explain how to connect this and how to configure your SQL server to make a dynamic TCP IP. Okay, so let's just press finish now. Okay, we need to create a data warehouse here for our storing data warehouse. Okay, I mean, we need to create database, of course. So let's just create a new database here and name it SavePoint DB. Okay, and just press OK. I think now what we're gonna do to create another connection, okay, to make it our destination DB, and we name it SavePoint data warehouse. Okay, just press next. Then we're gonna select MySQL. No, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Yeah, and I always forget the port and the server name. So let's do the process again. So SQL Server manager configuration, and we go to CPIP. Then we copy the name of this port here, dynamic port. Okay, that's okay. Then we go here, and for the server name, DB name, let's just start by the DB name. Copy this. Okay, for the server, let's just bring our server. Okay, change settings and copy this variable. Okay, good. Let's go for the server. Now we have the schema. Yeah, I don't think so. We need the schema. Addition permitted. Let's test our connection. Everything looks fine. Nice. Okay, we just press OK now. Finish. For the SA here, staging area, we need to retrieve our schemas. So we go here, table and schema. I mean here, sorry, and retrieve schema. Press next. Then we select our DBO schema, and we select all the tables that are relevant to our data warehouse. So we have the customer, employee, orders, order detail, and products. Okay, press next. Everything is good. Okay, okay, nice. Finish. So now we have our tables, and now we can start by creating the jobs. Okay, so to create a job, just create a new job, and we name it team customer, which refers to dimension. Okay, I misspelled it. Okay, and yeah, I think the name should be like that. Yeah, without hyphen. Finish. Okay, our job is creating. Nice. Now, as you see here, we need to drag and drop the customer as an input, of course. And now we need to make the row to connect the main row to connect to team up. Okay, our team up processing. Okay, double click. We create an output here. Then we create a variable. I will tell you what is this variable gonna do. And we drag and drop those columns to here. Okay. As we mentioned that we need the surrogate key or for example what is it? For example, not today. Let's go for the employee here. Let's start by customer. We need our surrogate key here. How we're going to do that? It's easy. We go to here the expression. First, let's just make the type to integer and to expression. There is a function in numeric here, which is sequence, which create an iterative number that each time there is an insert, it adds automatically that number. So sequence here, we can let the name of the sequence whatever we want. So just let it one as one. And here it means it start where it start from zero, from one, for two, whatever you want. So let's start one. And this is the steps, which means like whenever there is an insert, how I should add to this number. Like if we started by one, we insert a new customer. So what is the second customer? Should it be two or three? So this is the step. So like x plus one or x plus two, etc. So we let it one because we want to have a normal variables. Okay, we just press OK. And now we can name the variable to customer key here. And we can drag it and drop it here. Yeah, what's going on? Okay. Nice. And we order the columns here. I need to make it the first here. So we need to mention to team up that this is a primary key. So we just click here, and as you see here, there is an icon of the key. So which means this key is my primary key. Okay, we have string, string, string. Everything is okay. I think we should give it a length of, I don't know, 10 maybe. And we press OK. Now we don't need a second team up. We don't need anything. We need to connect directly to our data warehouse. So we should drop down here our SP data warehouse and make it as an output. And we can link our team up to the data warehouse. I need to right click, output one to the data warehouse. Okay. There's some configuration in data warehouse, of course. We need to name the table to team customer. You can name it whatever you want, but it's better to make to have a semantic meaning. However, in action on table, we need to make this action creatable if it exists. If it doesn't exist, else don't create it. And action on data, we need to make sure that our actions should be in inset if not exist, which means like if the data exists, we don't need to make a new data. We have it. So it doesn't exist, just add that to why, because like we don't need to have a redundant data, of course, and we don't need to make another process to filter the data if there is a redundant value or not. So it's better to use this action on data. Now we can save the job, okay, and we can run the job. Okay, the job is starting as you see here. Now we have 120 rows, which is good. And if we check our save from data warehouse here, tables, we see that our customer dimension just created. Okay, we select the row and check if the data is there. Yeah, interesting. We have the null value here and we have customer ID. Okay, let me check why is this. Okay, I remember why. I'll explain it. So let's go to Talend and let's go to our team up here. As I mentioned here, I just created a variable, but I didn't create a column. So just drag it and drop it here, which for Talend, this column doesn't have a name. So how we are going to do that and give it a name? So we need to delete it first, okay, and create a new column and just name it to customer key, okay. Then we should make it an integer type, okay, and we can change the order of the row. And now we can drag and drop this variable here and make it as primary key, okay. Let's press OK. We need to delete our data warehouse, of course. So let's go, delete the table in the data warehouse. So just delete it. Okay. And now we can redo the job. Re-execute the job by just saving it and do it again. It's starting, it works now. Okay, so if we recheck our tables now, we just refresh the tables. and we check our customer dimension, we see that the customer key just appeared. There is no null column here. It's just a team up problem, so you can fix it. So as you see here, we have the customer key, the customer ID, the company name, the customer name, which means everything is okay and it's work fine. Okay, so I think we're going to apply this process for the employee table, and I think for only there is a kind of a small change in product and time. So let's start for the employee first. Let's continue. So we need to create a job here. For, call it dim employee, and press finish here. Let's close the job of the customer. We need our employee table here and drag and drop it. Input. We need our team up, of course. Then double click in team up. We need to create another output. Okay. We need to create a variable here. Give it a type of integer, and we do the same thing as we did in customer. Okay, sequence here 1 1. Okay, and let's drag and drop those columns to the right here in output. Let's create, of course, a new column and give it a name of employee key. Give it a type of integer, and should be a primary key. And also let's drag and drop the variable here and give it a length of 10. Then press OK. In our SP data warehouse, you should drag and drop it here, make it as an output, of course, and link our team up. Let's go. Let's right click in our team up and pick the output one and link it to the data warehouse. Double click in data warehouse. We should name the table to dim employee. And for action, of course, create table if it exists. Insert, we need to make it, action data, we need to make it to insert if it not exist. Okay. I think we finish. Now we need to save the job and run the job. Okay, it's starting, I think. Yes, I need to insert around 18 rows. Let's check our data warehouse. Let's refresh our tables. Okay, dim customer. Let's refresh our tables here. As you see here, there is a new table here, dim employee, which means dimension employee. Let's check our columns, and we have the employee key here, 18 rows, and our employee ID. As you see here, there is access IDs and there is SQL Server IDs and the employee name. Okay, good. And now what we need to do, let's create our product dimension. So let's give it a name of dim product. Okay, finish. So the process here is the same process as we did in employee dimension, customer dimension. So we are going to drag the products here table and make it as an input, of course. Then we're gonna select the row, the main row, and link it to team up. Okay. Then we're gonna create an output, of course, output one, and we're gonna drag and drop these columns here. Okay. We're gonna create a variable for our surrogate key, and it's gonna be a sequence, so numeric sequence. Okay. Then press OK, and we make it as an integer here. Okay, we need to create a variable here just to avoid the null value, because if we drag and drop directly here, we're gonna get an error, like a column doesn't have a name. So we better create here a column and give it a name like product key. Okay, and make it as integer, and also not nullable here, and make it as a primary key, and give it a length of 10. Okay, then we can drag and drop here and press OK. Now after finishing, we can drag and drop the data warehouse here and make it as an output, of course, and link it here, output one. And here in the component of the data warehouse, we're gonna name our table to dim product. Okay. And for action table, we need to make it like creatable if it doesn't exist for auctional data. So if there is any update, I mean, or there is a new request for our product, so we better to make our auctional data insert if it doesn't exist. Okay, now we should save the job, and now we should start the job as you see here. Okay, it's starting, and we have 122 rows. Okay, let's go to our data warehouse and check the data. So if we're going to check our data in our data warehouse here, so we're going to staging area DB and tables. Okay, so as we see here, we have the dimension of product, and if we're gonna have an overview of it, we're gonna see that we have our product key, as you see, is an auto increment numbers, and we have our product ID and product name and category name.